Good morning all. Today's topic of discussion is HDL design part 3. Objective of this lecture are to make students familiarize with VHDL design entry methods and the importance of hierarchical design. There are various design entry methods. Once the specifications of the system to be designed are known, we can prepare our logic design, and then that logic design can be entered into the EDA tool with the help of different means like the block diagram or schematic capture, then the state diagram entry and the HDL code entry. So one by one we'll see the details of each. The first method is block diagram or the schematic capture. A schematic circuit is literally drawn in an appropriate graphical editor. The EDA tool associated with this task is called the schematic capture tool. An electrical rule check, that is ERC, is usually run. The main job of this ERC tool is to check for interconnect electrical connections. For example, if a VCC pin of an IC is accidentally shorted to ground, then the ERC tool will point out such a discrepancy. For this tool to be effective, the IC pins have to be earlier declared as power, ground, input, output, bidirectional, etc. After removing the ERC errors, a netlist is generated by the editor, and a netlist is a text file showing the nets, that is a set of components connected together. It is also possible to generate the VHDL netlist. So in this slide you can see the one of the schematic, and this schematic includes the various logic gates and the flip-flops, which are the memory elements, and different multiplexers. So these are available in this tool. We can select those components and interconnect the things to prepare the schematic, and with the help of which we can do the schematic entry. The second method is using a state diagram. So many designs are most effectively described or designed by a state diagram approach. The sequential circuits are generally expressed in terms of state diagram. The EDA tools provide a graphical interface so that the designer can directly make an entry of the state diagram and generate the netlist. This method is preferred since it is a fast way of creating the designs. So we can just draw the state diagram, give the state names and the conditions on which the design will enter from one state to the other state, and easily we can do the design entry with the help of this state diagram. The third method is the HDL code entry. A designer can enter his or her design using the hardware description language HDL. The HDLs prominent in the industry are VHDL and Verilog. So these are the two languages with the help of which we can enter our design. So in your curriculum, we are going to study the VHDL language, but Verilog is also equally used in industries. It is also popular language. There is another language that is recently making ground called as the System C. So being similar to the C language gives it an advantage to be most user friendly and comfortable to designers familiar with C. So using the code entry method is the most preferred one since it offers the design flexibility, code reuse, easy modification, and the tighter control over the resources. A netlist is again created by compiling the HDL code. So this is one example code which is shown over here, and in this you can see the different VHDL statements are written to enter the design. The HDL coding, what is the format, how to write your own course, that we will be studying in the further course. Now the design entry can be done once the logic is cleared. So from that we can do the design entry. So design entry is the important stage in the VLSI design flow. Generally the VHDL designs are prepared in a hierarchical manner. So we'll go with this low level design entry. The design entry description of microelectronic system to a set of EDA tool is nothing but the design entry. Representation by schematic entry, which just now we have seen, we can do the design entry with the help of schematic. The output of this schematic entry tool is a netlist file. It contains the detailed description of all the components in the system and their interconnections. And HDLs for design entry allow generation of netlist directly using the logic synthesis. So in the design entry method, if it is a HDL design entry method, directly we can go for the synthesis so that the netlist will be created. Using the schematic entry method also it is possible. So the schematic entry tool will generate the netlist file. So finally all the design entry methods will be converted into a netlist file which can be understood by the EDA tool. So while doing this schematic entry, which are the different rules that we have to follow, those we are going to discuss. So this is one example schematic, and in this example schematic you can see the different symbols are used, different notations are used. So what is the purpose of these things? So these symbols and the notations will be useful if the design is having some repeated blocks. Like in this particular schematic itself, you can see there are number of AND gates. So if you see the symbol for this AND gate, just the cell name is given as the AND, and again you can see there is one instance name. So the instance name for this particular gate is AND1. For the similar type of another gate, the name given is instance name given is AND2. So likewise, if there will be more number of AND gates, then further the number will increase from AND2 to AND3, AND4, AND5 like that. Then for that particular logic gate, what is the fan in, what is the fan out, that is also specified. For example, for this AND2, the cell fan in is 2. For this AND gate, the fan out is equal to 2. Means we can have the 2 connections from the output of this AND gate, which can drive the 2 different outputs. That is the fan out. The different connections, the instance attribute, instance name, everything is specified. Like this is the symbol, the name given for this cell is OR gate, and as this is the first OR gate, the instance name is OR1. Now this whole circuit, if you will analyze, it is a circuit which is having the number of logic gates. The inputs are A and B, output are C and D. This C is the carry output and D is the sum. So it is a adder circuit. Now if one particular line is carrying only one signal, then nothing will be specified over that line. But if it is carrying multiple signals, then that will be mentioned as a bus. One slanting line will be put on that particular line, and then that number will be written. How many signals are carried by that particular line, that is mentioned over there. Now this particular adder circuit, instead of drawing all the details of this adder circuit every time, it will be converted into some symbol that is called as the schematic symbol. So this half adder circuit, which is shown over here in the B part of the diagram, it is shown as a symbol for the half adder. Now as this half adder circuit, as previously we discussed, it is having the inputs A and B and the outputs are C and D. So this is one rectangular block which is created, which is having two inputs AB and two outputs CD, and it is given as the name as the cell name for this particular block is HADD, that is half adder. And further, if we will go for the another circuit which is a full adder circuit and which requires two such cells, then you can just see the cell name is HADD, that is half adder, and the instance name for this particular block will be now HA1 because this is the first half adder, and for the next half adder the instance name is HA2, and then they are combined and one full adder circuit is obtained. Now for this particular cell, that is HADD, this cell is called as the parent cell, and this parent cell is having number of children. So the children are having the name as AND, OR, NOT, because this half adder circuit is consisting of two AND gates, one OR gate and one NOT gate. So these are the children which are shown. So the first child is INV, that is inverter. Then the second child is OR gate, that is OR1, because only one OR gate is required in the circuit, and the third child is AND, the cell name is AND, and there are two instances because there are two AND gates, AND1 and AND2. So this type of representation of a circuit is called as the hierarchical design, and that we have seen for this half adder cell. And now this particular component, that is HADD, that is half adder cell, can be put into the library. So you can design your own cells and you can put it into the library. So the library elements are called as cell or module. The schematic libraries which are available, they are not flexible and they are vendor dependent, and there are some porting issues. While porting those components into your design, there are some issues. So there are some hard macro and soft macro. So these macros can be called in your design. So you can use the readily available hard and soft macro, or you can design your own cell and put it into the library. So for a particular component or a particular cell which you have designed, there are some cell names given to them. The cell name is identifier for each of the cell in an ASIC schematic. For example, that HADD, which is the cell which we have seen and that is designed and put into the library. So cell instance is the reference to the primitive cell. Like if there are such multiple half adders required in the design, then the cell instance name will be given, like half adder 1 and half adder 2. And for each cell, an icon is prepared, which is a pictorial representation of the cell. So those icons and symbols available in the library can be used in the schematic. Like here, the schematic of a D latch is shown. So this is one D latch which is having the inputs D and enable, and the output is Q. So the cell name is DLAT, and now this particular cell can be used for the further designs. Like if I want to have a schematic for a 4-bit latch, then I will require such 4 D latches. So these are the detailed diagram in which all the cell instances and everything is shown in detail. Instead of drawing such a detailed diagram, we can have the use of the cell symbol, which is the cell symbol of a D latch. So this is the first latch, latch 1, latch 2, latch 3 and latch 4, and we can have the inputs as D1, D2, D3, D4 and one combined enable input, and at the output side we have Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Further, this diagram can be reduced with the help of the vectored instances. Like for this wire, as one signal is there, it is denoted as D1. But as the similar signals are going to this block like D1, D2, D3, D4, we can combine the thing and we can put it as one bus over here. So this is one signal which is going to the this D latch, and there are such 4 latches. So the vectored name for this latch will be L in bracket 1 as to 4. So there are 4 such latch starting from L1 to L4. The inputs to these latch are D1 to D4. There is one enable signal, and at the output side also we have the 4 different signals, that is Q1 to Q4. So this is the D latch, which is given the name vectored instance is shown over there. It is a 4-bit latch. So we can show it in this fashion also, like one bus over which the bus width is also mentioned. Then for showing the connections, we can use the buses and we can simplify the design. You can see in the A part, the detailed diagram is shown, pin by pin connections are shown. Instead of that, we can go for this bus type of connection, in which the diagram is much simplified and easy to understand. So this is again the diagram which shows the vectored instances and buses. So if such 4-bit latch, we have seen how it is prepared from the single bit latches. So from this 4-bit latch, if you want to obtain a 16-bit latch, then again 4 such devices will be required, and this is the vectored representation for that. Now this is a 16-bit latch which is having the inputs D1 to 16. The outputs are Q1 to Q16, and there is one enable input. So the diagram becomes much simplified with the help of this vectored instance and buses. So once the design entry will be done, the next step in the design flow is compilation. At this stage, the design is said to be at the register transfer level, that is RTL. All the data manipulation is done here at the register of the host CPU, or we can say that the design is not in terms of logic gates but internal to the environment. After successful compilation of the design using one of the 3 methods, a netlist is generated which is called as the gate level netlist. And the design now is translated in terms of logic gates and the modular entities like multiplexers, decoders. Thus, we now have the design at gate level. Now the design at gate level can be verified or it can be simulated. So there are 2 very different tasks in digital system development, that is verification and testing. Verification is the process of determining whether the design meets the specification and performance goals, and it concerns the correctness of the initial design as well as the refinement processes. Whereas the testing is the process of detecting the physical defects of the die or a package that occurs during the manufacturing. So verification is the process before manufacturing and testing is the process after the manufacturing. Then comes the next, that is the functional simulation. The functional test is done by simulating the gate level design using the logic simulators, and that may be available as a built-in feature of the EDA tool. And there are 2 ways of functional verification. One is interactive mode and the other is the batch mode. In the interactive mode, the designer can change the input signal and observe the corresponding output behavior of the design, and this method is become cumbersome for designs involving large number of inputs and outputs. So many set of inputs we have to apply and then check those many set of outputs. Another is the batch mode. In the batch mode uses the concept of test benches. It is also a piece of a VHDL code. that generate the test pattern and checks the validity of the output, and this mode is attractive for the larger designs. We have to apply a particular selected set of inputs so that maximum number of cases can be covered and we can test the maximum functionality of the design with minimum set of inputs. If any desirable behavior is observed, the designer can correct the flaw by going back into the design entry level. And it is important here to note that none of the timing aspects have been considered during this simulation. It is only the functional verification, that whether the circuit functions as per our requirement or not. Synthesis. Synthesis means to properly put together so as to make the whole complex design. At this stage, it is necessary to specify the target device, since the synthesis tool requires knowing the resources available with the target device. So as we want to materialize our design as a hardware with the help of this target device, the program which we have entered should be converted in terms of the hardware which is available on the target device. So specifying the target device before the synthesis is necessary. So synthesis optimally maps the design functionality at the gate level into the actual device available with the target device. For example, if the design uses 4 input AND gate, but since this is not available with the target device, the synthesis tool can break down the 4 input AND gate into 2 input AND gates and map accordingly. The optimization is very important, otherwise the design may get blown up and the target device may prove too small for the design. So synthesis tools have inbuilt proprietary algorithm for the optimization so that the design can be completed with minimum number of hardware resources on the target device. Then comes the post synthesis simulation. So after synthesis, again the simulation is performed. After synthesis, the design needs to be rechecked to confirm its functionality. Simulation at this level ensures that the map design behaves correctly as desired. A possibility may exist wherein the synthesis tool may incorrectly recompose the design while mapping, and again the timing parameters are ignored here. So it is only again the functional simulation. Then the next thing is implementation. So this is the process of physical placing of the design into the target device. Though it is a physical placement, it still takes place in a virtual environment provided by the EDA tool. A physical map of the target device is loaded into the environment and the components are virtually fitted into the target device. So again, this process is in 2 phases: physical synthesis and then place and route. The physical synthesis means optional relocation of the design into the target device, and proprietary software tools are available for this task and may be quite costly. Place and route is the phase where tool complete the task of virtually placing the component of the design into the target device and then wiring the individual module to complete the design. And then once this is done on a virtual environment, the timing simulation is performed. So it is most important change in design undergoes is after the implementation. The modules in the design now may be physically placed apart from each other, and this factor introduces the delay aspect in the signal propagation, and many synchronous circuit will fail if the timing aspects are ignored. Hence, simulation is necessary again to test the timing behavior of the design, and this provides the designer with a better view of design functionality. So in fact, the real world behavior of the device can be very accurately studied by the simulation with timing aspect. And the final stage is hardware implementation. The design is downloaded in the actual hardware or the target device. The synthesis tool generates the output in terms of bit stream that is used to configure the target device. and the vendor specific tools can be used for downloading the bitstream into the physical device. Like if the targeted device is of Xilinx make, then the bitstream which is created, that is also made using the Xilinx tool only. Thank you.